G'day punters, welcome to the still as yet unnamed Sydney Review Show, although we did have a good suggestion last week calling it Harbour Review, so we might roll with that for this week. We might change it every week. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the review show Mark Shean to begin with. Mark, you obviously had a pretty reasonable weekend finding prime candidate in the last. How did you finish up?
Yeah, no, Rosehill was good. Didn't have a great deal of luck at Kembla, unfortunately, but Rosehill saved the day for me, and I was very happy that Prime Candidate bounced straight to the front and absolutely shit in the last.
Absolutely, bloody good. Mark Rhoden, for yourself, we spoke about the San Domenico on the preview, and we'll touch on that in just a moment, but you pretty much nailed the market there from what I can tell. But anyway, besides the San Domenico, how did the day unfold?
It ended up all right. I ended up on the first two winners who got very backable. I thought, which they were races I wasn't expecting to be betting into on Saturday morning, to be honest. But the market's flipped around a bit in the last 10 minutes or so, and so I got on the right side of those. Bit lean through the middle of the program, as everyone knows. I was with Peltzer. Got the Ming Dynasty wrong as well, and fortunately came home with a wet sail with Prime Candidate, which I think did a few of us a favour.
Absolutely. And Rob Scurry, my man, your man, everyone's man. He's completely in the zone at the moment. Rob, you had a tricky start to the day, but you came home with a wet sail.
Yeah, look, when Etheridge loomed to win and ran fourth, and we were on at 1-2, I thought, oh, this is not going to. There's no getting out of this. I felt I was seeing him pretty well, but yeah, as I said, it's rare I go from down to up. Usually up to down.
Okay, well, we're going to review the same races that we did on the preview show. We're going to review races 5 through 9. We'll start with the San Domenico, the Group 3, and it was a talk, I guess, on everyone's lips because Anders came out and completely obliterated the field. Rob, I'll start with yourself. I just want to know, there was a couple of horses here first up that I guess we all had a bit of time for, namely Peltzer. Doutland was probably the other one. Mamaragan was probably going to be a little bit less suited given the likely map, but how did they look compared with how Anders looked in the yard?
Look, Mamaragan couldn't have come back better. I marked it second in the numbers. I thought it looked outstanding, kind of, relaxed forward. Peltzer, nice horse, does a bit wrong in the parade. I think Mark alluded to that. He would get hot, but he just looks slightly underdone. Doutland, I think I put on the text. I think maybe he'd be better next prep. He still looks a little bit immature to me compared to these. And the winner just looked like it trained on a lot, and more than that, it relaxed a little bit more in the yard, like real professional parade from it. So, yeah, it was a pretty easy decision for me to make from the yard.
Mark Rhoden, you marked Peltzer $2.80. It's jumped $2.87 Betfair starting price. I think when we were doing the preview, there was over $4 available, but there was strong support late for Anders. It certainly didn't drift at all, and they've gone very fast here for the class. 9.8 lengths on the all-adjusted figure. But you go to the class figure, they've gone 6.9 lengths fast on Punting Form data. What are you doing with the race going forward?
I'm not sacking Peltzer. One of the things we spoke about on the preview was that perhaps it was just a niggle in my mind. I was certainly happy to overlook it, but that his two really good runs had been controlling in front at 12 and 1300, I think it was. He did look to set up nicely tagging Anders, but Anders was just simply far too quick for him over 1100. He's gone super. Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll be fine up to 1400, Peltzer. Not sure what Mamaragan, obviously, too. We spoke about in the preview. It looked, according to his trials, that he might be better this prep, and I wouldn't be dissuaded from that view on that run on Saturday. Doutland, don't know what to do with him. He's the one the jury's got to be out on now. Maybe he's a wet tracker only. Maybe that win in the kindergarten was just an outlier. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see with him.
Mark Shean, a number of these horses were first up. What are you thinking going forward towards their next start? Are you going to give them a range of improvement if they did meet again?
Yeah, well, I think Peltzer had the most improvement, as Rob mentioned there. He just got a bit hot in the yard. We hadn't seen him before because we'd been off track. But look, he's a lovely type of horse, but he was just a bit jig-joggy in the yard and sweated up. And as to my eye, had improved greatly from his last win. He didn't sweat on Saturday, and the way the track was playing on pace and rail, I think everything just fell into place for him, and he was simply too fast for them. I don't know about Dadland. I think looking back, that form beating Jerl and Miss Canada, starting to look a bit thin to me. So maybe he's not quite up to these top horses.
He rated well that day, and it looks super to the eye. But yeah, it is looking iffy, and even his trials, everything around that run hasn't really been of the same standard.
No, well, that Not an Option ran third in that kindergarten as well. I think it got run over a couple of times after that as well. Maybe just flattered in the wet tracks through the winter. I'm not sure. But that Miss Canada form hasn't really stacked up either. So maybe it's not at that level yet.
Yep.
Okay, we'll jump into race 6, which was a benchmark 78 over 1,100 metres. And Rob Scurry, there you were, finding Prime Star, a bit of a small play each way at the good odds. Just run us through the yard for us, Rob.
Pretty even yard, like no real standouts. The 8, I just thought looked big and strong and as good as anything. And then when I saw the odds, it just seemed like a reasonable play. I know it failed its last run first up, and I just thought, well, maybe we can put that down to Randwick. Seemed to map well on a reasonable tempo. So yeah, it was a pretty easy watch. I do like to find things at double figures, and yeah, it was a small play. On hindsight, I wish I had a bit more on it for the subscribers, but yeah, happy enough.
Mark Shean, did you end up having a play in this race? I know you had a bit of time for Electric Girl on the previous show, but the odds certainly were in its favour in terms of the market on the day.
Yeah, I was on it on Thursday at each way odds, so got a small result out of it, but she paraded poorly, in my opinion, compared to what I've seen her in the past. She did canter up and look like she was going to win, but she ran out of gas. But she'd had 5 or 6 lengths improvement on what I've seen last time in. Thought Destination was probably stiff here. 3 wide and a limb was not the place to be. Prime Star did a good job. I couldn't have found it myself, but I thought Destination unlucky. Electric Girl certainly one to follow.
Mark Rhoden, did you have a play in the race? And I guess second question, what are we doing with a horse like Sangria?
Okay, firstly, yeah, it was Electric Girl and Black Magnum. Yeah, finished with him now. But interesting to hear both Rob and Mark say, Rob's pre-race comments on Electric Girl. I think you said it looked woolly in the coat, Rob?
Yeah, well, but it is from it's not a city trained horse, so I didn't mark it too badly off that. But yeah, it's just she's only a light thing. She looks like a wet tracker to me, but I think she got better form on the dry. Just not my kind of horse.
Sangria, I think I said in the preview, she just strikes me as the sort of horse that any kind of pressure, and she did cop some from Bothered held her out, in fact, on Saturday, and that's enough to get rid of her. She scored really highly with me twice in her career. Once was around Gosford at 1,000 metres, and the other was down the straight at Flemington. Ideal sort of straight horse, I'd probably suggest. But this was a pretty good benchmark 78, and in this sort of company, if she gets pressured, I think she's always going to be very vulnerable. As I said, I think this is a pretty good race. You look at the time; they've run about 0.3 slower than Anders. Sectional sort of flipped around. Prime Star's run its time in the second half of the race compared to the first half for Anders. So just taking a line through that, this is going to be a pretty strong form race. Electric Girl will be better when she gets out to around 1,400, I think. Destination, I said on the preview too, I wanted to find it, but the map put me off, and it's gone very close despite a tough run. And the country horse Plonker was certainly not disgraced as well. It's a pretty strong 78, I think.
Okay, we'll jump into the Ming Dynasty over 1,400, and I guess we all wanted to take a bit of a set against Overlord, just given the likely map and the lack of gate speed. Well, they've gone slowly here for the class, 3.2 lengths slow to the 600. And in the end, Holyfield's just had a picnic out in front and been able to run away with the race. It was second or one of 2 rides for Tim Clark, where he just got his own way in front and really bounced back to something towards his best riding form. Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself. Did you end up having a play in race 7?
I laid the favourite. I backed a couple of others in the race as well. But I'll just ask you boys what you think of the change of tactics drawn. Now, this was a horse who had an established pattern of racing on speed. Last start, up and coming. Change of tactics, jumped a half a length in front, dragged back towards the rear of the field. Saturday, change of tactics, straight back to the front. Now, if we don't get those change of tactics announced, what would you think if you didn't hear that last start to be ridden back and then this week go forward? It looks pooey, doesn't it?
It does, but it was a funny race because there was no speed at all on paper. I mean, finding a leader was tough enough, I thought.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying if no one hears a change of tactics there, you got drag back 1 week, straight to the front the next.
Yeah.
And also it had an established pattern. Look, it won him the race because they showed him 10 out of the barrier. He races best that way. Yeah. And look, I didn't think he'd give them the weight personally, but the way the track was playing, he got a very soft section in the mid stages. Down the side of the track, they pulled up to walk and it won him the race.
Yeah, it was a few fun and games with the COTs on Saturday, the first race. Everyone, I think, was convinced that Free Hearted was going to try and make the pace for She's Ideal. It did miss the start, but...
Well, it did get left, didn't it?
Sorry?
It did get left, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It took a backward step, yeah. For sure.
And Jason Collett, well, he seemed to assume that the pace was going to be on because he just dragged straight back on She's Ideal to a position that was unwinnable.
Best laid plans, eh?
Something like that anyway. I'm always of the opinion, I enjoy the Hong Kong, I guess, lack of change of tactics in that you have to make it up for your own mind. I thought the jockey change of Tim Clark going on board Holyfield, I just assumed it would be leading anyway here, but I know what you mean, Mark Shean. It's just very frustrating when you cop the variance week in, week out. Rob, for yourself, how did you think Overlord in particular paraded, but then also Achiever? That was the other first up horse that I was interested in.
Both not my kind of parade. Overlord just looked at, Achiever was a bit clip-cloppy, sideways walk, got a bit sweaty, looked a bit heavy. I've said, Waller, not a good parade for a Waller horse. The winner was a bit flighty and a bit. It's just a bit revy to me, which I don't like, and it's a never ever ever again. Aim number 2 looked the best time. Best type here, looks the best type, couldn't have paraded better, walked around perfectly, small each way play, had the suck run behind the winner, just run third, you dog. And never again. Commit me if I ever put back that horse again. It's up to Toowoomba.
Just doesn't no desire for the contest, that one.
It's a good type. I think they're all pretty average here. A bit like the Dame Giselle race. I wouldn't be getting too excited about anything out of the race. And this is Brook Horse Overlord, the maiden who misses the start. Not much of a horse to me. Looks like a wet tracker. Unlike Achiever, this one came out, forward. Coat was really good. But yeah, not a horse I'm ever going to get excited about.
Look, he was vulnerable there on Saturday, but I think he's done a fairly good job from the position he was in. Second last on the fence in a slowly run race. Bazooka did finish better than him the last 200, but he's been racing through the winter and was rock hard fit. So not a horse I want to be on, but I think he can still probably win a race or two, Overlord.
Yeah.
He seems to have a bit of spruik on him, so he's not ever going to be a great price, I don't think.
Oh, absolutely.
That's it. They can all back him again. Please, back him again.
Excellent. We'll go to race 8, which is the Premier's Cup over 1900. Mugatu settled just forward of midfield, had a cosy run, was heavily supported, but it was short to begin with. We spoke about the price there on Thursday, and in the end it was just far too good for this field. Mark Rhoden, you were talking about you priced the horse aggressively on Thursday, and even then the price was far shorter than what you marked. Did you end up having a play in the race at all?
No, I didn't. I actually, I had another look. I got him a bit shorter, but I couldn't get him much below 2-1. So it wasn't. He was never. I couldn't find anything to beat him, but he was never going to be a bet for me at close to even money. Fortunately, I stayed out. I was. On Thursday, I was trying to talk myself into horses like Girl Tuesday and that, and fortunately did the right thing and just gave it a miss. He's jumped odds on, hasn't he? And he's won well enough. He's a very nice horse, but he's another one who it's going to be with his reputation. It's going to be hard to get any value out of him, I think.
Yeah, Mark Shean, they've gone very slowly here. 5 lengths slow to the 600. You obviously found Mugatu, and it was one of the horses you wanted to follow from the trial. Did you end up having an investment at all in race 8?
Yeah, I did end up backing him. I know he was short, but I just thought he paraded better than when he'd won first up, and that inside draw, the way the track was playing. So had a few savers in the race as well and got a small win. But thought a good run from Rhoden here, back to last. Came down the worst part of the track out wide.
Yep.
Working home very nicely. Once it gets up a little bit in trip, I think one to follow for sure.
Yep, and some strong splits there on the punting form data as well over the last 600, as you said. Rob Scurry, your thoughts from the yard?
Oh, look, Mugatu had improved a number of lengths, sent it out on top, but I tried to outsmart myself here and find something at long odds. I ended up landing on Norway, the place, which seemed to have the perfect run and did nothing. As a Waller horse, he looked kind of forward and ready to go, and I thought he'd get the right map. But yeah, just kicking myself. I could have launched here at the winner as he'd improved a lot, and there's a lot of sort of numbers in this race.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll touch on race 9. The benchmark's 88 over 1200. Mark Shean, you found prime candidate out of the trial coming into this event. Just run us through your thoughts as to why you're keen on the horse and as the race unfolded as well.
Oh, well, I just thought he'd been running on a few wet tracks. I think he was better on top of the ground. Excuse me. He looked the map quite well, and he'd trialled well. He jumped out and was dragged back in that trial and trialled without blinkers, and he's a much better horse with the blinkers on. And I thought he took a lot of ground off Mr. Mosaic in fast time. So I just thought it set up quite nicely for him. There are a lot of horses resuming here. I wasn't overly fussed on Subpoenaed. She gets back in a big field and going to need luck. So I just thought everything sort of fell into place a bit for prime candidate.
Mark Rhoden, what are you doing with this race going forward? There was quite a few horses first up. Are there any of those that you're looking to follow next start, or maybe a few starts down the track?
Yeah, I was on the winner, and the one I backed for a bigger win was actually on Thompson that we spoke about on Thursday. I thought his run was pretty good. He got flushed out 3 wide when Spiritual Pursuit fired up a bit and sort of took his spot and pushed him wide on the track. The one that Mark mentioned on Thursday, Nudge, who just looked like 1200 was too short for her. She was fantastic. And House of Cartier, the stayer, it's closed off really well as well. I think it did something similar first up last time too, so it might have found its mark in the handicap ratings a bit, House of Cartier, but it's obviously going well. Other than that, Tenley got in an ordinary spot and closed off all right, but it was pretty well beaten. Yeah, that's about it from me, I think.
Rob Scurry, talk to me. There was quite a few horses first up here. Which ones caught your eye and which ones have the most scope for improvement?
Happy to find prime candidate here. He's been a horse I've been on for a number of preparations. He just looked big, strong. Dapple's coat was fantastic. And when he jumped, a length in front of the field, I got a little bit more on. The other good horses I thought here were Mark Shean made mention of Nudge. I thought she came back perfect. Waller, really liked her, and Tenley was the other one. That's a horse I used to find a bit as a 2-year-old. Had a bit of luck with her. I thought she's come back really, really well, and just the map put me off her. And Subpoenaed, look, I think I put on I put her in the numbers and said it's a horse I can't catch, and so I think she's going well, but she needs sort of everything to fall into place. I think Mark alluded to that.
He's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah. All right, I'll get a horse to follow from each of you out of the meeting. Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself. Is there one horse you're particularly following out of this meet?
Just for staying races, I thought Rhoden was pretty good on the day. She got a long way back, came down the worst part of the track, and I think Destination was certainly very unlucky. And Electric Girl out of that race as well. Look, she is lightly framed, but coat-wise, she's got a lot of cleaning up to do, and I think she'll be better when she gets over a little bit further, so I wouldn't sack her on that defeat on Saturday.
Sure thing. Mark Rhoden, for yourself, a horse to follow?
Those two I mentioned in the last, Nudge and House of Cartier, if they can find their right races.
And Rob, out of the yard?
I really like the one in the first race. She's ideal. Things didn't go to suit. She looked better than this lot. I was pretty dark about her. I thought hers was the best run in the race, and having been on Dancing Gidget at the start previous when it had old cardiac arrhythmia or something, I was in a pretty dark place after the first. So yeah, she's ideal.
The old cardiac arrhythmia gets you every time. This Saturday at Randwick, we've got the Chelmsford Tramway and the Furious Stakes by the looks of things. Mark Rhoden, for yourself, anything else you're looking forward to during the week?
We've got Newcastle tomorrow. I'm personally not looking forward to anything. I'm in lockdown. I'm just sitting around the house. But we've got Newcastle tomorrow, Metro Wednesday, Wyong Cup Friday as well before the good meeting on Saturday. So plenty on this week.
Mark Shean, for yourself, anything that's going to take your fancy during the week?
No, I'd just be happy. I think there's a good benchmark race there at Warwick Farm on Wednesday, but the side's down, so we haven't got any fields as yet. So, yeah, it's a big week. As Mark said, we've got Wyong on Friday, always a great meeting, and then back up to Randwick on Saturday for that Wait for Age meeting with the Chelmsford. So this is a busy week, and hopefully some good horses turning out on a good track because we've got clear weather for the week.
Perfect. Sounds outstanding. Rob Scurry, you'll be in the yard there on Saturday as well. You'll be no doubt looking forward to it as per usual. It's your time of year.
That's it, mate. I don't even know who's running, but yeah, Chelmsford, one of my favourite. Well, one of the reasons I love Sammy Clipperton in the day, he got complacent home at triple figures for me. So yeah, love this time of year. Usually head up to Newcastle too, but I hear they're being a bit restrictive in the COVID rules, so I won't be going to Newcastle this year, which first one I've missed in 10.
Well, I'll be joining the two Marks there on Thursday to preview the Chelmsford meeting. Look forward to that. Until then, guys, go well. Have a good week.
Thanks, boys.